and play on 2nd and 10. That's his youth right there.
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
Today I'll be filming my college football preseason top 25 rankings video. So I already did my conference championship and playoff predictions videos. I included those games in the records I've got on here. But for the teams that I didn't pick to make the conference championship or college football playoff, I just put my regular season record prediction for them on here because I didn't do any other bowl predictions. But I've got LSU at number one because this is the team I'm picking to win the national championship this year. So the year before last, when LSU's offense was so good with Jaden Daniels at quarterback and those two wide receivers that got drafted in the first round, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. If their defense even would have been average, they would have had a good chance to win the national championship. But their defense was terrible that year. But this year, they've got a quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier, that I think is going to get drafted in the first round. And they've got several wide receivers that are going to play in the NFL. And their defense this year, I don't think is going to be average or good. I think it's going to be great. And Notre Dame, I've got it number two because they're the team I have LSU beating in the national championship. But the only reason I picked LSU and not Notre Dame to win the national championship is because Notre Dame is unproven at quarterback. Everywhere else, Notre Dame is plenty good enough to be able to win a national championship. And Notre Dame is not the type of team that needs a quarterback to throw for 300 yards a game to have a chance to win it all. They just need a quarterback that can manage the game for them, like every team would need to be able to win it all. But so far, they don't even have that proven yet because their quarterback hasn't played any college football yet. But I've got Clemson at number three because I have them at 13-2 and losing to LSU in the semi-finals. So Cade Klubnik had a really good year at quarterback last year, but he still wasn't quite as good as the two quarterbacks that won a national championship at Clemson, Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. But if he can get to that level and Clemson's defense can be as good as it was when Brent Venables was defensive coordinator, and they can get a new running back to be as good as Phil Maffa was for them last year and Will Shipley was for them the 2 years before that. Clemson probably will win the national championship, but those are a lot of things to believe in without having seen it yet. So I've got Alabama at number four and Georgia at number five because even though I've got Georgia getting two more wins than Alabama, I've got Alabama winning the game they play against each other in the regular season. And I put Texas at six and Oregon at seven behind Georgia because I have Georgia beating Texas in the regular season. And I decided to go with Texas for six and Oregon for seven because I do have Georgia beating Oregon in a playoff game, but I also think that Texas is the better team than Oregon is. and let me explain 8 through 12. So I've got Texas Tech at 8 because I have them beating Michigan in a playoff game, and I've got Oklahoma at 9 because they play Michigan in the regular season, and I have Oklahoma winning that game. Even though I don't have Oklahoma making the college football playoff, Oklahoma is a team that I think is probably top 12 this year. I just think their schedule is going to be a little too tough for them to make it into the college football playoff. But I put Michigan at 10 and Ohio State at 11 and Penn State at 12 because I have Michigan beating Ohio State because Ohio State can never beat Michigan. And I have Ohio State beating Penn State because Penn State can never beat Ohio State or anybody elite. But I do think that Ohio State and Penn State are both better teams than Texas Tech and Oklahoma are. I think they're both really top 10 teams. And let me explain 13 through 16. So Louisville, I've got at 13 because I only have them missing out on the college football playoff because of the group of five requirement that needs to go away. But I've got them getting a win over Clemson and Miami. And I've got Indiana at 14 and Iowa State at 15 and Miami at 16 because Indiana's best win I've got coming against Illinois, who is I've got 9 and 3, and Iowa State's best win I've got coming against Arizona State, who I've got at 9 and 3, and Miami's best win I've got coming against SMU, who I've also got at 9 and 3, and I think Indiana is a better team than Iowa State is, and I put Iowa State ahead of Miami because Iowa State is coming off of a bowl win against Miami, and I've got Ole Miss at 17 and Duke at 18 because even though I've got Duke with a better record than Ole Miss, and I do have Duke getting a win over Illinois, and I don't really have Ole Miss getting any big wins this year. I couldn't put Duke ahead of Ole Miss because Ole Miss is coming off a big blowout win over Duke in a bowl game. So I've got SMU at 19 ahead of Baylor, who I've got at 20 because even though Baylor I've got with one more win than SMU, they play in the regular season, and I've got SMU winning that game. And I've got Arizona State at 21 and Utah at 22 because I've got Baylor beating both Arizona State and Utah, and I've got Arizona State beating Utah. But I actually think Arizona State is the second best team in the Big 12. I just don't have them playing for the conference championship because of the way the schedule works out, and I don't think they're going to be quite as good this year without Cameron Scadaboo, because even though Arizona State returns so much from last season, they made the Big 12 championship last year because they won a bunch of close games, and they probably wouldn't have won all of those without Scadaboo. And I've got Missouri at 23 and Illinois at 24 and Georgia Tech at 25. Even though I don't have any of them getting any really big wins, I've got Missouri ranked because of how much they've got coming back on defense, and I've got Illinois ranked because they returned 16 starters from a 10-win team. And then Georgia Tech, I've got them ranked because I think they're going to be one of the surprise teams. But three other teams that I have right outside my top 25 that I want to mention are Texas A&M, Kansas State, and Tennessee. They're teams that I think have a good chance to finish inside the top 25. But I've got them all at 8-4. So that will be it with this video. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.